Oh man, what a beating. What a beating I'm taking right now. Yeah, so I jumped ship. I actually didn't jump ship. I'm still in the ship. I jumped on a fallen ship a few days ago. I got into the Carnival Cruise Line and Norwegian Cruise. Actually, I got into Norwegian the next day. I got into the cruise line, Carnival Cruise, CCL. A few days ago, I removed my position in Baidu. I was in Baidu, and figuring, hey, the cruise line industry got rammed, and there's a lot of upside potential. Looking at roughly $50, $50+ share, per share at the Carnival CCL. So in the time I bought it at 16, huge upsale, right? Not upsale, but room for profit. Huge room for profit. So I figure, what the heck? I mean, these cruise line ships are not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? They're just not going anywhere. They're a hard asset. They own the asset. They own the mark. The ships. I mean, these things aren't going to just disappear into nowhere land. So my gut instinct is that at some point these stocks are going to be back up. I love cruises personally, so I know people share that same passion in cruises. These things are not going anywhere, and again, they are a tangible. They have tangible product, and assets. So for that is why I jumped into the cruise line industry stock and remove my position from Baidu, these digital companies where I feel they don't have any real assets. So, they could keep falling and falling and falling and so on and so forth. It's just my general concept. I know there's a lot more that goes into it, but with these cruise liners, man, I mean, there's just no way. I mean, unless this is all my personal opinion, but unless this entire world ends, we're going to be on cruises again, and we're going to be loving cruises, and the markets, they're going to go up. So I think the part now, this is only several days later, and already I've lost basically 50% in CCL. My position in the CCL Carnival Cruise Line, and I'm ready to pull out. My theory behind it is that if it's going to go down to $3 a stock, now I could have bought in, for I bought it for 16, $3 a stock, basically 5 times the amount my position, right? So that would increase to 5 times the profit than what I've gotten in at 16. But I'm afraid, obviously doing that the market's going to pop, and it's going to keep going up, and then I got to chase this back and forth thing where I end up losing a bunch of money. So I think I'm going to hang tight. I advise for whatever I have, whatever's worth for. If you've gotten into a stock that is hit bottom, I feel like the strategy now is to find stocks, either wait it out or find stocks that are at, pretty much rock bottom, and put your money in those rock bottom stocks that have tangible assets. Obviously, they're, strong companies. I mean, this is my general, the general direction I'm taking. And, you got to look at the long-term investment. I think you're looking at least a few years. I mean, up to 5 to 10 years to get a return. I think is the long-term negativity about sitting on stocks. You know what I'm saying? But in the same token, where are you going to put your money? I feel like if you have a large position in stocks that still have not dropped, such as Amazon, Netflix, Apple, Google, all these huge companies like this, I think the downside potential is still enormous. right? And so that's another reason why I got into the cruise line, the stocks, because I mean, how far can they go? Like I said, depending on what you're working with, I wouldn't advise buying, more than what you can handle, obviously. But for your investment funds, you figure even now, if you get thinking about getting into the CCL now, these cruise line or Norwegian or any of these now, I mean, think about really how much can you lose versus how much can you gain, right? I mean, you're looking at what are we at? Norwegian right now, the NCLH is at $8.31. You know what I'm saying? Essentially $800 a stock. So for $800 at risk, for gaining, 5 times that, right? It's doesn't it seems practical, versus getting into a larger stock company, like such as Google, Netflix, where the drop can be, again, enormous. I mean, it could drop enormously, if people just don't have the money for these extra things, and so the cruise lines, they're going to flatline somewhere. I think the only negative side to buying the, stocks such as the CCL is that, you have a bailout, right? How does a bailout look to the cruise line industry, right? So if you got the bailout, now does that just prolong? In my opinion, that's just going to prolong that stock from rising back up, because they're going to have to pay off, the bailout first. And sort of like AIG, kind of thing, where AIG's upside was massive. They were on top of the world, generally speaking, and had a huge value to the stock, and then they dropped major, and they got bailed out, and it never popped back up before we got hit with another, drop in the market. So I think that's something to look at with the CCL. I mean, for it to just jump back up, if they get bailed out, I think that's going to be a problem. If they don't get bailed out, I think it's better. So this way here, for the stock market, we just don't know how far the industry is going to go, how much are they going to suffer. But at the end of the day, they shut down, right? The cruise liners shut down. They put all of their ships basically in the shipyards, let them sit, get them updated, wait for this thing to pass, and there's no sense for them to go completely down and out of business, right? I mean, that just seems super far-fetched. So I really feel confident in the industry, cruise line industry, especially when you're talking about these large companies, Carnival, Norwegian, and the others. I mean, it's just yeah. I think the upside's great. I think hang in there. I mean, if you're in it now, hang in. Don't. I mean, what's the sense of getting out? You know what I mean? The question come in: how long do you think it will take for NCL to go back up where it was last month? Yeah. So if basically, I was going over this a little bit, and of course, I just, my opinion, but what I feel is that in the next, you say a month ago, you're back up with about $50. I think anywhere from 3 months, just generally speaking, anywhere from 3 months, 4 months to, a few years. And I think if they get bailed out, and that's what I was talking about, the bailout, if they get bailed out, I think that's going to be bad. I think, obviously, because then they could repay back slowly, kind of thing. So I think that's something to look at is what is the bailout looking like? Are they going to get bailed out? Kind of keep an eye on it. That's what I'm going to do, is keep an eye on whether or not the bailout is going to happen, whether it's not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's hard to say how long it'll take before it rebounds. But the thing I can't say in confidence, as my opinion, is that it will rebound. Right. So if you're young enough, it's just market turmoil. It's just market turbulence right now. If you're older, and you're looking, you're not looking to sit on stuff for up to 5 years, for example, or even 2 years, for example, then Obviously, it's probably not going to be the best, investment to get into. But if you're dealing with the stock market, you got to really anticipate that, it's not going to be a quick uptrend. If you're looking for a quick return on your investment, you gotta get into the short side of these things. Obviously, there's no room to short side on these. I don't think there's much room from the way I'm buying one or two stocks, a couple hundred stocks versus if you're buying several thousand, obviously there may be some room here since it's been dropping large percentages. But from a stock by stock basis, man, no room for short sale. I would short sale some of the big stuff like Google and Facebook and stuff like that for that quick turnaround. What's going on with NCL? Yeah, I mean, you got 8K on it, huh? You're going to make a lot of money in the long term if you keep on that 8K position right now. Depending on how many stocks you are, hopefully you didn't get 8K on it when it was up at $50, and you got into it at the bottom. At least somewhere near there. From anywhere from 20. I think the realistic peak. The closest. I think that the stock will reach maybe $20. And that would be considered, or the share, I'm sorry, would reach $20, and I think that would be the upside rather than looking at the 50. I think within a year, no questions asked, maybe even a rebound. Actually, a quick rebound is what I'm thinking. Whenever this share is over, once people are, back to work and things are, it's not looking down, or some positivity in this whole coronavirus pandemic, then I think at that point we're gonna jump right up to $20. That's my gut feeling right there. 450 shares at $10. Man, I know you're sitting pretty. You're gonna make a killing. I got into it at 16 and change, and I feel good about it. Although, like I said, I lost 50%, so it's hard to feel good in the short term. I know, man. I wish I could say grab it at 790. I personally am looking at waiting for it to get down around $5. I know that's probably crazy to hear, but that's just my personal from what I put into it. What I'm thinking, around that. Something in my head is thinking we can get down to like the $3 mark, before it bottoms completely out. That's a complete, just assumption. But I mean, at 790, depending on $7.90, how much time do you have? I mean, if you're going to be in the market. If you don't mind sitting in the market for 2 to 5 years, I mean, you're looking at least 5 times that. 5 times 790. I mean, that's huge upside. So I don't think you can go wrong in the cruise line. For me, CCL Carnival's the way to go, just because they were the dominant side of the industry, in my opinion, and I think data supports that. But the Norwegian, same thing. I mean, they're a monster as well. Huge upside. The fact that they are cheaper and they still have the same, they were still up there on that $50 mark just a few months ago. I mean, they're awesome as well. The bankrupt thing. I mean, I think. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think that I don't think that. I talked about the bailout. I think that they may look to get bailed out. The bankruptcy. I think if they do some sort of bankruptcy, it's just going to prolong the upside. But it doesn't, in my opinion, remove the profit in the long term. It doesn't change that 2 to 5 years from now. They're going to be back up, above what they were 3 months ago, or a month ago. But it's who's to say? I'm going to look and do a little bit more research on the whole thing and try to, get more familiar on the position and the moves and stuff like that. I kind of just jumped into them, looked at the long, the potential, the fact that they have the assets. In my opinion, they can certainly afford shutting down everything, getting rid of staff, basically, putting their ships in the shipyard, getting them all primed up, getting them all fixed up, taking the time, because I think that was an issue for these cruise liners as well, is they didn't have time to stop, and fix their cruise liners. And I know that took me from going on some of the cruises because they're just not updated and so on and so forth. So I think this is going to give, labor is going to go down. Unfortunately, the unemployment rate is going to drop, or the unemployment rate is going to rise, unfortunately. So labor is going to be less expensive. That plays in the favor of the cruise liners to get these ships up to par, and then work something out. So, yeah, I mean, it's such a scary thing out there when you're really looking granularly at the stock market. But I'm going to leave with saying that if you're in the Carnival Cruise Line right now, if you have it, again, my personal opinion, hang on to it. If you have, say a year for a year if waiting a year to make for that stock to go up to $20 is good for you. And then, kind of letting that ride out maybe 2 to 5 years. And then the stock's going to be back above what it was, a month ago. So that's what I'm saying. If you're contemplating buying into the cruise liners at this rate, in my opinion, you can't go wrong. It's a safer bet, even though you're looking at dropping down a few percent, a couple $100, a couple points. Again, if you're buying, a lot, thousands and thousands, then maybe it's not the best move to make. But if you're thinking about buying a few stocks, even, like I said, if you're looking at it dollar for dollar, maybe, I don't know, call it 1,000 shares, max, I think you're good. And then kind of going up from there. If you're looking to buy more than that, I wouldn't feel comfortable kind of touching on that at this point. I just think there's other opportunities. If you're looking for a short-term move, a short-term profit, obviously the upside doesn't seem to be the one to take. It's the downside. I wouldn't short none of these cruise liners. I feel like they're way too short now for really to be any upsale. Again, that's my personal opinion. If you're going to short something and you want to make a quick, return, look at these big stocks. Look at Netflix. Look at Amazon. Look at these. Maybe not Amazon so much. They got a good position, but still, I mean, they're sitting real high versus what they were, a couple years ago. I know they got a lot more infrastructure, built now, but as far as this CCL, as far as the Norwegian, as far as these cruise liners, these large ones, hang in there, man. Get your money, put in what you can afford, take out what you can't afford. But at this point in the game, anybody getting in the market is going to crush it. It's going to crush the game. Anyone getting in the the market for the cruise lines, I'm going to rephrase that, I feel is going to do real well. So I wish everybody out there the best. I wish you guys make a killing. I hope if you have some strategies too that you're thinking about putting in play, let me know. Put them in the comment area, and I love to go through that and kind of talk about it too. And then I'll kind of jump back on here. I got positions in CCL and the Norwegian as well. So I'll be back on here to kind of go over a little bit there and go from there. So again, best of luck. Hang in there. Keep yourself safe, and make some profits. All right. Later, guys.